everyone, how's it going? It's that nerd Ryan here, going to review Madame Web. I am going to try to keep this entire thing monotoned, since the entire movie is monotoned, and it's going to be very hard to do. That this bit is probably going to end in 10 seconds, because it is honestly very hard. I wish I was able to reach the camera and focus it randomly on my face, just like this movie does. But, unfortunately, I do not have the kind of money that Sony does to hire people to be behind the camera. But I do have more passion than Sony does in making videos and movies. Yeah, it's going to be really hard to keep that. So, this movie sucked. It's the easiest explanation. I did kind of see some behind the scenes stuff that they changed a lot of stuff. They kind of, sounds like they hired at least Sydney Sweeney and Dakota Johnson under false pretenses that this was a MCU movie. That, or they just didn't do the research, heard superhero, and signed on. If it's the first option, I feel bad for them. If it's the second option, it's their fault. But throughout this movie, I was sitting there thinking about if I wanted to rewatch Morbius to figure out which one is worse. Nothing should make me want to think that. Best example is my goal in life is to own every single superhero movie ever made. I don't want to own these two movies, though. Those are the two exceptions to what I don't want to own. You know, not like the first Batman movie from like 1930 or whatever it was, the 1940s Batman serial stuff. I would own that. Batman Forever, or Batman and Robin, I already own. Fanforstic, I would rather go out and buy than this. This was a cash grab on, we want to keep our rights to Marvel, we want to build up something, or to Spider-Man, and we want to build up to something, but I don't care. I honestly, throughout this movie, thought that the script was written by AI. There's dialogue in this that is very terrible. There's editing that's terrible. There's set pieces that's terrible. Line delivery, you could tell that either they were told to be wooden or that they just didn't care after a while. There's no, like, character traits on anybody. It's very hard to talk about this. At least with Morbius, it was kind of funny. I originally was thinking about, like, I'm actually happy I waited 4 days to record this video, because I literally was like, got out of it, and I hated it, don't get me wrong, but I was like, this was enjoyable on the standard of the goofy decisions. And there are decisions in this movie that made me laugh out loud. Not even decisions by the characters, but cinematic decisions, script writing decisions, stuff like that. I thought was hilarious. And now I'm sitting here and it just kind of makes me mad because it's more of an insult to the moviegoers and the people watching and people like me. This was very much so we know people are going to go and watch this because it's a superhero movie and it has something to do with Spider-Man. So we're not going to put any effort into it. What's funny is you look at something like Kraven the Hunter, which Kraven, I still say, looks kind of good. Or like, even kind of Morbius, or Venom. That's more understandable of, well, we don't give a crap, you're going to see it anyways because it's a famous Spider-Man villain. Again, Morbius is to the extent. But like Kraven got big this year because of Spider-Man 2, or last year, and Venom is Venom. So obviously, like, people are going to be like, it's more acceptable. It's not acceptable at all, but makes more sense of, yeah, we don't care. We're going to just publish this movie half finished, with a script that feels like it was written by AI right after our AI strike. And yeah, there you go. It would make more sense with that. But with a character that people either A, don't really know about, B, don't really care about, and C, is such a minor character in most things that she's not even the same person anymore in the comics. We do get the current Madam Web in this movie, but she is not Madam Web. She's not even Spider-Woman. Which also, this was another thing about this movie. I'm not even going to give a spoiler warning. We are going to cover the whole movie, at least try to coherently talk about it. But I'm not even going to give a spoiler warning, because I'm going to tell you right now, do not go see this movie. It's a waste of your time and money. And it honestly kind of made me mad and upset after a while. Because, you go and see a bad movie with a friend, you end up liking it a little more because it's the experience you had with the friend. But analytically, this movie is an insult. So don't see this. Listen to my explanation. Go watch New Rockstars. Go and watch some movie reviewer explain what happened, so you don't have to see this movie. They misled information about what would be going on. The girls that are the Spider-Women in this are not powered, do not have suits, don't even fight except for in a flash forward that lasts 15 seconds. The suits look amazing. That is the one thing I will say about this is Julia Carpenter, or Julia Cornwall, I guess they changed it for some reason. The Spider-Woman suit looks phenomenal. The other two Spider-Woman suits look great. Even Ezekiel's suit kind of looks cool. It looks like a knockoff Halloween Miles Morales suit, but I mean, that's besides the point. But yeah, everything else in this movie is just pure garbage. But yeah, everything about this movie was a lie from what it sounds like to the actresses, saying that this is part of the MCU, to them, to even the moviegoers, where it's saying that these characters, we're going to see some superpowers and stuff. The only superpower that we get is Ezekiel can crawl on walls and somehow magically appear pretty quickly into places where people are. And that's not even a superpower, that's just poor writing. And Cassie's view of the future, that's like 7 seconds into the future until she makes up like the most generic bullshit in the end. And yes, that's how much this movie is making me swear. I try to keep this PG reviews, but this movie has really pissed me off. Another kind of good thing about it is Adam Scott as Ben Parker. I thought he did a okay job. Adam Scott usually does a good job in any movie that he's in. And I could tell he kind of did still give it a good game. This makes me think of that I Think You Should Leave sketch with Santa Claus, where he was in a movie, and he's talking about, he's like, yeah, I charged them $2 million to be in this movie, so that way I could get a quote. That means any movie that I'm in, they have to pay me $2 million or more, even if I do a bad job. They have to pay me $2 million or more, even if I do a bad job. That's kind of what everybody in this movie was like. Well, I'm going to get my paycheck. So anyways, Cassie's, let's just sum up everything. So Cassie's mom is 9 months pregnant, looking for this spider that can cure disease and have superpowers, and then they go like with the camera constantly during this entire scene. We get Ezekiel, who's her bodyguard, who just randomly will turn on her because the spider gives superpowers. That's literally it. So she gets shot with everybody else by Ezekiel. He leaves with the spider. She gets taken in by the spider tribe and gets bitten by the spider as she gives birth and dies. So Cassie gets latent superpowers that don't activate. We don't get explained why until later on in the movie that she actually was diagnosed in utero with some sort of disease that would give her like 5 years to live. So the spider cured that and then gave her clairvoyance or future telling, fortune telling stuff. So she becomes a paramedic, works with Ben Parker, that's right, Uncle Ben, who she says to one of the first things is, you never been shot at in Queens, which is kind of messed up considering what happens to Uncle Ben. And we see that Cassie's kind of a loner and honestly, I want to say a sociopath. She saved a guy who was having a heart attack and was in the hospital, who dropped him off at the hospital where the family goes and sees them, and the daughter gives her, or the son gives her a picture that he drew as a thank you, and she's like, how do I throw this out? Like almost immediately while the kid's standing there. That was something that I was laughing at, besides the cinematography with the random camera zooms. But like something like that made me laugh, not because it was funny, like they were trying to make it funny, but for the fact that it's just so mean-spirited and instantly will make anybody absolutely hate a character. And that is something that I have to say about Cassie Webb, is she is a very unlikable character, like altogether. Even after like she saves the girls, which she gets on a train and has a vision that these 3 girls are about to get killed by Ezekiel, which we'll get to his modern day introduction because that one is also absolutely hilarious in a bad way. That's the thing is, like, if you remove yourself from the movie and realize you're watching a bad movie, it's like The Room. This is the Room of superhero movies. Morbius is not the Room of superhero movies. This is. But the thing about Morbius and The Room is it is actually rewatchable because it's funny. This one is... It's like, I guess the best possible way is you're at a comedy show and the person is bombing and then lets some slurs drop and you like laugh because you... Not because you think it's funny, but you're like, oh my god, this got really awkward and stuff like that, and I don't know what to do. I need to get out of this situation, sort of thing. But anyway, so she figures out, she has a vision. After nearly dying, she starts seeing the future. But even before that, she goes to a baby shower for Mary Parker. That's right. Peter Parker's mom, or I'm sorry, we can't say the word Peter in this for whatever reason, so we will find every which way to block out Peter, even when she has a random vision that we will bleep out Peter, basically. And we can bleep out Spider-Man and bleep the fact that Ben is marrying May Parker, or May, to be May Parker. We're going to also get rid of Richard Parker for whatever reason. We're going to make this literally like the Gotham Knights show is basically what this is. But yeah, anyways. So she gets on the train and she sees these 3 girls that she's run into randomly and then gets a vision that they're going to get killed by Ezekiel. So she saves them, and then throughout the movie she's like, I don't want to protect you. I'm going to kind of leave you with your parents even though this super-powered freak is chasing after you. Yeah, I'm going to leave you behind. I don't want to protect you. I don't want to really do anything superhero-like. And it's like, I get it, like, reluctant hero, but this was like the difference between what a good reluctant hero is. If you look at Luke Skywalker, or even Spider... You know what, let's keep it in Sony. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Spider-Man 2. I'm starting to lose my powers. I don't want to be Spider-Man anymore because I'm happier. Even though with great power comes great responsibility, I want to take time away from being Spider-Man. But you know what? Mary Jane is getting hurt. Doc Ock is running amok. I have to be Spider-Man. Madam Web, I don't want to protect you. I really don't want to protect you. I just really don't want to protect you. Eventually I will, but I don't want to. Like, there was no motivation for her to protect them, and no motivation to turn on to wanting to protect them, aside from the plot needed it. So anyway, she protects them. They split away as she does research. They're at a diner. Ezekiel finds them, because of course he does. She crashes into him after having a vision of him killing everybody, and then takes them away, drops them off with Ben, and somehow leaves them and makes it to Peru. If she's wanted, which she is, because she's considered, they are blaming her for abducting them. And also, I forgot to mention, this movie takes place in 2003 for literally no reason. And there's 2 inconsistencies about it being 2003. So just think about, I didn't think about this till now. 2003 is 2 years after 9/11. So she's able to buy a plane ticket last minute, go to Peru with probably no identification due to the fact that, like, there's her exact description fits who abducted these girls. Also the fact that they know that they're being tracked by Ezekiel. How did she get to Peru? That makes literal no sense at all. But she gets there, she finds out her origin and everything, and then comes back, and she somehow just magically mastered her powers to be under her control just by having this conversation. And then she basically runs away with the girls from Ezekiel until he basically kills himself because she set it up that way with her visions. And then she gets blinded because Madam Web's blind. And then they live happily ever after as she monologues about how they're going to be great people in the future. The end. So I left out all of Ezekiel's parts because I wanted to talk about his plot and his introduction, modern day introduction, because it is hilarious for his modern day introduction. So he randomly goes to an opera, meets up with a NSA woman, hooks up with her, and then starts having a nightmare that he gets, that is a vision of the future of these teenage girls. Well, current day teenage. They're now 30, which also, mind you, again, this is taking place when Peter Parker is being born. So these current teenagers that will grow up to be Spider-Women, which canonically and everything else, Peter Parker's either the same age or a little bit older than most Spider-Women. So they're going to be double his age at the most by the time he starts being Spider-Man. Anyways, so they these 3 girls that are currently teenagers kill Ezekiel in the night. So he wakes up from his nightmare and explains in the weirdest monologue way that almost, I would want to say, sounds like a serial killer, but sounds more like somebody that has some sort of problem up there that's not serial killer, explaining how dreams actually work simply through the fact of, I thought of this last night, that this is how dreams work. Sort of thing where it's not a nightmare, it's prophecy. I am going to get murdered by 3 girls. I know it will happen because it is prophecy, because it's a reoccurring dream. And this prophecy must be stopped, even though it is prophecy. I'm not even kidding. That is literally how he says it. He drops prophecy probably about 10 times in that conversation. He's like, and I know the NSA has worked on stuff that identifies people. So you need to give me your phone password. Or I'm sorry, the phone thing's a different thing we'll talk about in a second. But you need to give me your password so I can find this NSA stuff. And she's like, of course, because it's her job. No, I'm not going to give you that. Okay, time to kill. And then kills her for the password, gets it. And then he gets this NSA equipment that could possibly be real today, definitely not real in 2003, of facial recognition and anything. Just for, actually, this is probably not real, now that I think about it. Just from him being like, this is how they looked in my dream. Also, de-age them by 15 years. And that's how he figures out where they are. And he has the Wicked Witch from Once Upon a Time track them throughout the movie. So that's how he keeps knowing where they are. Now, how does he jump states and randomly appear exactly where they can be within an hour? I have no idea. But, yeah, that's another thing with Ezekiel, too. All of his lines are poorly dubbed. It is like watching the ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z, of, like, literally, they don't even try to match his lips with what he is saying. It is absolutely god-awful, distracting, hilarious, and terrible all at the same time. But yeah, it's bad. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. But yeah, so the two inconsistencies, I'm not even going to go through things I liked, because I already said the one thing I liked is that the Spider-Woman suit looked amazing. And Ben Parker, Adam Scott did a good job. By the way, Peter Parker's born by the end of the movie. But yeah, so the two inconsistencies, my friend caught the last one, but the first one is the part with the vision of her seeing all the girls die. I kid you not, let me grab it. There's a guy, mind you, 2003, sitting with his iPhone like this and going, huh, New York's a whole new kind of crazy, huh? With my iPhone from 15 years in the future. And then the other one is, a major scene is using Toxic by Britney Spears, which came out, or hit the charts a year later. Which, they're getting it off the radio, they're not getting it off of an iPod Touch or an iPod Nano, or I guess if we want to be more close to the time, a Zoom or a Walkman, maybe, if we wanted to actually be accurate at that time. But yeah, so that wouldn't have been a thing, which that's a real nitpick. But the iPhone thing, that's like, what is the guy doing? 2003, we didn't have hand devices that can connect to the internet and stream videos. But yeah, so I was originally going to give this movie a 4 out of 10. I am giving Madam Web my first 1 out of 10. Absolutely terrible movie. Do not recommend seeing it at all. Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I do this for you guys. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. Make sure I tortured myself for you guys watching this, and I tortured myself watching movies that I know are going to be bad for you guys, especially on Thursdays. Once a month we're doing Fast and the Furious, so make sure you guys jump over and subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys. Sat Nerds.